G'day. This is a 1 week old 20 Kawasaki 1000cc Ninja. Unfortunately, it's been dropped. So today I'm going to show you how to repair the paint the way the professionals do. And it might give you a couple of ideas on if this ever happens to you. Hopefully you'll pick up some tips on what to do. This bike, unfortunately, it fell over on its side and it's only a week old, and it did cop some minor damage. And the damage is it's chipped the paint off here on the end bars. It's grazed the paint here on this section of the panel. We've also grazed the paint down here on this section of the panel. We've also grazed a section of the motor and also this section down here. So I'm going to show you the processes of what to do, because basically you've got 3 steps. Step 1 is to analyse and prep what you're going to do. Step 2 is actually laying down the material, and step 3 is finishing it all off. Okay, there's a few ways we can do this, and one of those ways is obviously we've got different colours here, and ordinarily someone would just naturally think that this is damaged, this whole piece needs to be painted. Well, not necessarily. With something like this, what you can do is work with the facets, and we've got several different angles here that's actually not seeing the same amount of light at all the same time. So there's no point really respraying the whole thing. We just really need to work on this particular area here, and then what we can do is recolour this facet and re-clear this facet. And that way, this original paint up here and the original paint here will not be touched. So the overall look of it will always, if you're doing a repair in this manner, the overall look of it, it'll always look like it's never been repaired at all. Basically, when you've got faceted areas to work on, the light will not hit any of these areas in the same manner at any one time. So even if your colour is actually a little bit off, or quite a bit off actually, that doesn't matter either. Because we're just working on this area here, the light actually will shine differently here as it will to here, as it will to here and here. So we're very, very safe in just working this small little area here. That's all we need to do. So, and I've got to do exactly the same down here and the same down here. So what I'm going to do now is, because I've made my assessment, I'm not going to paint and prepare the whole thing here. I'm not going to paint and prepare all of that, or all of that. My assessment of this bit of damage here is that I can work within these facets. I can smoothen out the damage, recolour it and re-clear it. The same for here, the same for on the engine, and same for here. So without any further ado, what we'll do is we'll get a trusty bucket, a couple of drops of dishwashing detergent put in there, and the sole purpose of that is so that your paper, your wet sanding paper does not get clogged up. Just that tiny little bit of detergent actually prevents the sandpaper from getting clogged up. Now I'm going to actually start off on this with 600 wet and dry. And second, cut across to that. What do we got? Okay. So I'm going to use some 600. There you go. I'm going to use that wet. Alright. So what we want to do now with this particular damage, we want to, it's very rough, okay, the plastic has been, scratched up like gravel. So what we want to do is blend this out, because if I was to just paint, do absolutely nothing, but just paint this area now to touch it up, to make it look like it hadn't happened. Because it's not, the surface is not blended in, it'll have an embossed look. So what we want to do is alleviate having an embossed look on the paint by smoothing this out. And it shouldn't take too much with 600. And I'm using a block because we are on a facet. So it's a pretty flat area. Now, you've got to get it to the point where you can't feel it with your hands. As soon as you know it's completely blended in, you've stretched it out, you've actually cut down below that damage. And it's nice and smooth. Yeah, we're pretty close. Now with the 600, that's probably about as far as I want to go, because I actually want to make that a hell of a lot smoother using the 1200. So I'm still working well within inside this area here. I'm not coming into this area here at all. No need to whatsoever. Okay, so you can see we've gone through the layers of the paint and we're going into the plastic, and we're smoothing out the damage that was caused from it falling over. Because paint won't fill, and that's something you've got to always remember. So unless you blend these sort of areas out, the paint will just fall into it and you have an impression of it like it's embossed. That's relatively deep, but we can actually work on that. And of course, naturally, once I've worked this area and it's all good, then I also need to roughen up these new surfaces that's going to get recoated. And I'm doing that so that we get some good adhesion from the clear and from the colour that we're going to lay down. That's feeling pretty good now. That's absolutely minuscule there. I'm seeing it, but I'm not feeling it. So what I'll do now is I'll attack that with some 1200 and really smoothen that up. Here. Won't need much. And also doing it this way, you don't need to buy heaps and heaps of material. All sorts of different products to do the job. You need minimalistic sort of gear. Okay, now I'm working with a 1200 grit. 1200 is going to be a very nice, super smooth surface for that paint to sit on and mirror. So, that's what you're looking at. So we're working within that facet. haven't gone outside of our lines, so we haven't sanded up top here, we haven't sanded inside here, we haven't sanded underneath here. We've just worked on that sort of a V shape, I suppose. And that's the area that we'll need to paint. So this area here is now prepped, ready for colour. Trusty rag. Let's wipe it off and have a good look at it. Right.